Today we are going to be looking at lesson 1.5 on electrical generation. We have different stations in 1.5 and we're specifically going to look at how to make shake lights, which you have here. So in your kits, you guys are given a bunch of materials. You guys have the plastic test tubes. You guys have sandpaper, which you only need a little corner of. You guys have the copper coated wire. This does come in different colors. You can tell that it is 30 gauge by the label here. So not by the color, you can see some of them are blue or some of them are red, but you want the 30 gauge copper wire. You guys are given these LED bulbs that look kind of like this here. And then you guys are also given your neodymium magnets, your cylinder magnets. You guys are going to construct 5 of these. They all stick together. Those neodymium magnets are very strong. You're going to construct 5 different ones of these to compare for the students. So we'll start with our perfect one and then we will come back to that. So on our shake light, we have our cylinder magnet inside. We have a lot of copper wire, pretty tightly wound together. The copper wire is sanded at the ends here and attached to your LED light, which is securely tightened into the wire, or sometimes I do it with tape. When I shake this, I want to put my fingers on both ends of the shake light. At times, this cap will fly off no matter how tightly you have it. When you're shaking it, it kind of loosens up and the neodymium magnet flies out. So you want to shake it this way. And you can see that right away this one lights up. That light is activated immediately. So this is our good example. This is the one we want to model what we're making after. We also want to make some examples that aren't as good so that students can find what is happening. So they're looking for that ideal makeup to conduct the most electricity. We have an example here. And the thing with this one is that it does not have a lot of wire. It has very minimum wire. So when I shake it, it's going to take a lot of movement to get any sort of generation, if it does at all. I still have the same size magnet in here. I have the same 30 gauge wire and my ends are sanded. It just does not have enough wire. So this is an example of what one of the stations would be for students to kind of compare. Our next one here has plenty of wire. We have our cylinder, we have our edges sanded, but it's too spread out. So even though we do have a lot of wire, it needs to be concentrated in the middle to create a nice current flowing. So this one will probably turn the light on with enough linear generation, but it's gonna take a long time. Our third one here, this looks really good. The wire is tightly coiled in the middle. There's a lot of wire. We have our large cylinder magnet, but when I look at the ends, they are not sanded. So this one will turn on when you shake it back and forth, but it's gonna take a lot more work than our good example is. So those are the things that you want your students to identify. Is it not sanded? What's the magnet? What is the wire doing? So that they can kind of create that perfect balance. Our last example here, it looks really good as well. A lot of wire coiled in the middle. Those edges are sanded. But when I look at the magnet here, I'm using 2 of the smaller neodymium. This one will also turn the light on after a lot of work. So it is good to compare these and kind of figure out where that optimal zone is. Now we're going to go ahead and take these materials to create the shake light. The shake light is an example of a linear generator, or one that is made up of a magnet traveling in a linear motion through a conductive material. The copper wire here is our conductive material. The back and forth motion causes the electrons to be pushed and pulled through the wire, and electromotive force is induced in the ends of the wire, lighting up the LED bulb. So in order to get that induction, we're going to have to sand the wire and get all of the copper wire tightly wound together. So I start with my tube and my wire, and I'm going to go ahead and tape the wire onto the tube, leaving a little bit more than an inch off of the tube so that I can sand it and attach it to the LED bulb. This type of generator is used in most of our electrical generation. So our power plants, our hydropower plants, our nuclear power plants, our gas, our natural gas, they all use pretty much this linear generator. So it'll be perfect for the lessons that are coming up in order to get that background information on how a linear generator works. As you can see, I am wrapping this very tightly, and I want to keep it kind of centered here in the middle so that we have a lot of wire all wrapped up around itself, creating more generation. This does take a while. So building the lights is not super difficult, but it does take some nimble fingers and patience. When you guys are building your shake lights, you want to watch out for a few things. If they are not working, one thing that could be happening is you're getting your wire kind of mixed up here and too bent. That can create maybe some break in the wire, and then your generator will not work properly. It does not allow for that flow of electrons. Make sure that I have nice straight wire that is going to work for us, because I don't want to redo these a billion times. Once it looks like you have a lot of wire on there, and trust me, it is a lot, you're going to want to go ahead and hold it down and then cut a little bit more than 1 inch on that side so that you'll be able to attach it to your LED light. You're going to tape down this side as well. The electrical tape is provided by teachers. We do not supply it in your kit, but if it's something you're having a really hard time finding, let us know. Can always help out. So I'm going to go ahead and tape down this side as well. And it's actually better if you tape it to the tube itself. The tape is going to stick a lot better. So now here is also a common problem. I have the copper coated wire. So in order to get a full amount of generation, I need to sand the ends of these wires. I only need to sand about 1/2 inch. But to do so, I'm going to do it against this paper here. And I need to make sure I get all the way around the end of the wire. When I'm done, there should be no red color left. Yep, so I'm double checking, making sure I have no red color left, and I just have that copper color. So that's going to be a good conductor for me. My two ends have both been sanded pretty well. I have the copper wire left on both sides. So I'm going to attach my LED. These prongs here are flexible, so you can kind of spread them apart while you wrap the ends with the wire. You want to make sure these are tight around the metal ends. And then it does help if they are closer to the top so that you can stick these ends into the wire here to hold them on to the shake light. This is a common mistake, is that the wire will not be sanded enough and that you don't have optimal generation. So double check if your shake light is not working, that you have all of your copper wire sanded all the way around the wire and that it is tightly attached to these prongs, because that could be a common problem with the shake lights. Now that I have those there, I want to stick them into the wire, which I have wrapped pretty tightly. If there are times when I cannot get the wire over the prongs, I will just sometimes tape the wire to the edge, and that seems to work. Last piece is I need my Neodymium Magnet. These are very, very strong magnets. They will attach to each other, and if you let them loose, they might fall back onto each other, and sometimes they do break. So they are kind of fragile. Please be careful with them, and please be careful with your fingers. They do pinch your fingers. So if you're using more than one at a time, please keep your fingers safe. The light should turn on immediately when going. So 1 or 2 shakes and that light should turn right on for you. The faster you go, the better it should be. So that is an example of a well put together shake light, and then you want to have them compared to the other shake lights that we looked at before. Let us know if you guys have any questions or concerns. Thank you.